The number 30 on this list is someone that many call elite, and that person's name is Joe Flacco. Flacco has certainly had his ups and downs as a quarterback throughout the years, but let's start things off with his ups. Like on this play, it's actually going to be a cover 3 zone that they're going against, and what Baltimore's going to do is have those two tight ends right there in the bottom half of the screen run those two routes right there as you see on the screen. But that's not all they're going to do. They're also going to have a receiver run a jet sweep down to the bottom half of the screen, and that's actually going to be very important here. The real guy to watch is actually going to be that Buffalo defender right there, because if he does run to the bottom half of the screen to make sure that he's covering up that jet sweep, that could cause the Baltimore tight end who's running over to the flat on the bottom half of the screen to get open, because that's where that Buffalo Bills player is in charge of covering. However, if that Buffalo Bills player then makes sure he stays out, then if it is a jet sweep, he could be in trouble. So he's kind of in a bit of a conundrum. And so what's he going to do? Well, he is going to run to the bottom of the screen to make sure he's covering up that jet sweep. And now at this point, there's easily going to be a Baltimore Raven open. But he's not wide open, largely because of that Buffalo Bills player who's further down the field, who is definitely keeping an eye on both Flacco and the receiver who is now trying to get open. He's going to cut in and try to make this play, so even though that Baltimore Raven is going to be relatively open, it's going to be for a very short amount of time. There's a window here, and Flacco's going to have to hit that window at the perfect moment and make a good enough throw, but that's exactly what he's able to do, and able to pick up some decent yards. That's kind of what Flacco is good at. I feel like he makes a lot of those good short throws very well. He has very good short throw arm talent, and he showed it off with that play. Another play he'll show it off is this one. It's relatively simple. It's going to be a cover 2 zone, and to have a receiver running a curl route right there, which will be underneath the initial gaps in coverage. So as you see, after this ball is snapped, Baltimore definitely does have a receiver open, not that far downfield, but he's still open, and the two Buffalo players who are further deep are definitely further deep than him. That receiver is going to be open for a period of time, but it's definitely going to be a very short period of time. I mean, a Buffalo player is going to eventually realize, oh, hey, there's a receiver open right in front of me. Maybe I should run forward and try to knock this ball out of the way. What's really important here is look at the speed Flacco's going to make sure he gets this ball there. I mean, he makes sure he gets it there very quickly. It's not the type of play that's going to go for a ton of yards, but it is going to gain some yards, and you can't go broke making a profit. You have to be able to make those short throws in the NFL if you're going to be successful. You have to be able to continue to move the ball down the field, and that's what Flacco can certainly do. He's kind of got that reputation of being a check down master, and of course this wasn't a check down, but this next play will be. And the reason I'm kind of comparing these two plays because having that short arm talent is very effective. Like what's happening here is going to be a cover 2 zone, and those are going to be the routes that Baltimore's receivers will be running. So on paper, which two routes should Flacco look to throw to? Well, you'd think those two routes right over there. I mean, they're both going to be in gaps in coverage, so that seems like that's what you'd want to do. However, there is going to be a problem that develops after this ball is snapped. As you see, as of right now, those two Baltimore players aren't entirely really that open. They aren't really open right now, but they might get open after an extra second or so. Flacco also has a check down right there, so in worst case scenario, he can always just hit that guy, and actually worst case scenario is what's happening right now. That Buffalo player is going to have a straight shot to Flacco, and in about 1 second, he's going to just absolutely kill Joe Flacco here. But look at how quickly he's going to realize he's under pressure, and the second he does, get the throw off to his check down. I mean, that's just really good job right there. I mean, that's just really impressive by Flacco. It's good awareness of realizing, okay, I'm under pressure, so I have to check this down, but it's also just having the arm talent to be able to make a throw all the way to his check down to the bottom half of the screen, which is not an easy throw, especially when you're under pressure and can't really get your feet exactly where you'd like them to be. That's a great athletic play. I know it didn't go for a ton of yards, but sometimes you have to just gain some yards. Sometimes that's okay. A check down isn't a bad thing. I mean, look at how Drew Brees has been able to use check downs so effectively to where his play doesn't work out, he just checks it down, and basically every play goes for at least 5 yards. Gaining 5 yards is way better than gaining 0, and if you can get some of these check downs, it can definitely be a very good thing. He also is a pretty accurate passer for most part. I mean, this guy makes some accurate throws, and this one's a good example. He's going up against a cover 3 zone, and so what Baltimore is going to do is have a running back run play action to the top half of the screen, and then they'll have a receiver basically run a crossing route just past the linebackers, which of course is what you want to do against play action. It's a play you see all the time because when linebackers do bite in, it can allow a receiver to get way open, and as you see right now, it's actually not working out too perfectly. Baltimore does in fact have a receiver open, however, look at the Cincinnati linebackers. They're doing a very good job here. Not only are they staying far enough back, but they're also not spread out too far, so now this means that this is going to be a very tight window for Flacco to try to make this throw. He's going to have to throw it in between those two linebackers essentially, and make sure that he hits his assigned man, so he's going to have to time it perfectly as well. It's going to take accuracy and timing, but he makes a perfect throw and it results in a catch. I know Crabtree had to go up a little bit to make that catch, but that's actually where you want to put that ball. You want to make Crabtree have to go a little bit up to get the catch. You don't want him to have to use his fingertips to make the catch, but that is where you want the ball to be thrown. Make him go up because that makes it tougher for the linebackers to make the catch, and also you obviously don't want to throw it too high because that could result in an interception if it doesn't get caught by Michael Crabtree. So that's why you don't throw it too high, but just throw it a little bit higher up. That's all you have to do a lot of these times. You just execute your plays. You don't necessarily have to make something out of nothing. Those are the plays that we all like to break down and we all like to watch the most, but that's not what you have to do most of the time. Like in this play, it's a cover 2 zone, and it's a pretty simple concept that Baltimore is going to be using here. They're going to have a receiver in the top half of the screen just run a go route, which will force that safety who's on the top half of the screen to follow him deep. And then they'll have another receiver who's in motion to run up to the top half of the screen and basically stay to the left side of the line of scrimmage, which will then force the Bengal who's in charge of covering the flat further in. From there, they can simply send a tight end that's going to be already in a gap in coverage over there to the top half of the screen, but because now the Bengals are moving further apart, this is going to make that gap be much, much wider. As you see as of right now, the Baltimore receiver is just now getting past that Bengal, but look at Flacco. He's completely calm here. It looks like he's just getting ready to make his throw as if this is just routine. He gets his shoulders square, he gets his feet planted, he's totally ready to make this throw, he's totally ready to time this throw perfectly, and the second he does have to make this throw, he makes a very good throw. That's just perfectly timed more than anything. That's just exactly what you have to do. It's knowing your role, and it's just a good play by both the Baltimore Ravens offense, but also Flacco. So enough about the good, let's get into the bad, and the fact of the matter is, Flacco will absolutely make some throws that make you just say, Flacco, what are you doing? This one's a good example. It's a 3rd and long, as that's where the first down marker is. So they really have to try to get the first down here, but probably they're not going to end up getting it. That's kind of the mindset here. You would love it if you could, but don't do anything stupid. That's probably what your coach would tell you on a 3rd and long like this. Also, Carolina is going to be playing a cover 2 here, but they're also going to be playing very far deep because, you know, you have to make sure you just don't allow the first down here. You don't have to worry about field position too badly. So Baltimore does have a receiver running relatively deep right there in the top half of the screen, which is key because they have another receiver right over there who's been running up to the top half of the screen. So in theory, Flacco could just hit that Raven and then hope that Raven is able to pick up a ton more yards after he makes the catch. That could be the hope at least. However, if you notice, look at that Carolina edge rusher right here. He went very far over to the right side of the screen, which actually makes some sense. I mean, you don't have to worry about potential run play here, so you can kind of go over to the right side of the screen a little bit more. However, he ends up getting pushed too far to the right side of the screen, and now Flacco can potentially scramble out of the pocket and pick up a ton more time to try to make a throw. That's what he's gonna do, but there really isn't just much there at this point. However, there is one hope for this play, and it would be that Baltimore Raven right there. He's running over to the sideline and will get pretty close to that first down marker if he gets over to the sideline and gets open. But the problem with this is that Flacco is now out of the pocket, and this now means that you can make contact with another player and it's not pass interference. But Flacco's going to try it anyways, but all that Panther had to do was just knock that receiver down, and Flacco's throw is nowhere near anybody and ends up getting intercepted. It's just a throw that shouldn't have happened. Flacco should have just thrown this ball away or taken the dump off earlier and said, hey, we'll pick up a few yards, but we're not going to get the first down, and that's okay. Sometimes you aren't going to get the first down. That happens. You don't need to try to risk turning the ball over every time. Field position is a real thing, and you're going from hopefully getting your opposing team inside the 20 to now they have the ball at midfield. Nobody likes to give up on a play, let alone give up on a drive, so I get the impulse to try to make something happen here, but it was just a bad decision, and it ended up leading to an interception. Another thing is a play like this, where it's going to be a cover 1 blitz on this play, and Baltimore does have a receiver running that route right there, which is usually great against the cover 1 blitz. It's a route with a cut in it, which is great against man coverage, and since there is no one in the field, he doesn't have to worry about any potential double teams. It's going to be one-on-one, and with a cut, it could be a very good route to throw to. But a couple of problems are going to happen here. The first of which is going to be that Carolina player does a very good job of playing tight coverage right here. The second of which is going to be that there's a lot of pressure going on right now, so Flacco can't really step into this throw the way he would want to. But number 5 is going to try it, and that's going to be a very bad decision as that Carolina Panther is able to make this interception. Maybe you could argue that there wasn't that much pressure, Flacco could have stepped into that throw a little bit more and maybe made a better throw, but the reality is that Baltimore Ravens receiver just wasn't that open. There was also this other play that I saw that actually this play isn't just an isolation, but this kind of thing happened a decent amount. It seems like a pretty simple play. It's going to be play action, and they have a receiver running a curl route right there in the top half of the screen. So again, simple play, shouldn't be anything too complicated. But take a look at Flacco's throw and how accurate it is, or maybe I should say how inaccurate it is. I mean, it's nowhere close. I actually don't think Flacco just whiffed on this throw. I think he got a cross up here. I'm not sure if this was the receiver's fault or the quarterback's fault, but by the way this happened a good amount, I have to imagine at least a part of it was on Flacco. It is possible that Baltimore had a lot of receivers just run the wrong routes. That is something that is possible. But it's also something that I highly doubt. Usually I feel like about 50-50 of these are going to be just on the quarterback or on the receiver, one or the other. But I find it hard to believe. If it happens enough, it has to be at least partially on both parties. And honestly, not just that, but every time this happens, part of the blame does have to go on the quarterback. I mean, part of your responsibility as quarterback is getting everybody on the same page, making sure everyone knows the play call. If someone doesn't know the play call, that is at least partially your fault. And again, if this thing just happened in isolation, I honestly wouldn't even bring it up. If this only happened a couple times, then I wouldn't bring it up. But I saw this type of thing happen a good amount when I was watching tape. I mean, watch, here it is again. It's going to be an out route right there to the bottom half of the screen, and that's going to be the guy who's in charge of covering that receiver, so this should be an easy gain here. I mean, this is basically dream scenario when you have a receiver running an out route and the next closest defensive back is that far to the inside of him. I mean, this is a complete lottery play. This is a gimme. This is a guaranteed 5 to 7 to potentially 10 to 15 yards. Guaranteed. Not to mention, if that receiver can break a tackle, this is a touchdown. I mean, this is just perfect situation. Flacco's eyes probably got huge once he saw this formation happening. Because now, as you see, that Steeler does have to run back to the bottom half of the screen, but when the Baltimore Raven is going to cut down even further to the bottom half of the screen, the Steeler just isn't in good position. He's going to get easily open, and this is going to be an easy throw until Joe Flacco throws it a solid 4 yards behind him. Again, I don't think Flacco whiffed on that pass because it also looked like he threw the pass a little bit too early before the cut happened. They just weren't on the same page there, and I do think part of that is on Flacco. I mean, granted, it should be mentioned, Baltimore had a lot of new receivers last year, so that might have factored in. It's a lot of guys who don't know the playbook as well as Flacco might, and so they might have just made more mistakes. That's also probably part of a factor. But when stuff like that happens, you gotta go out and practice those passes more. Make sure that you got the exact yardage down on each one of these passes. Yeah, Flacco was playing with a lot of new receivers last year. Well, guess what? Next year, he's going to be playing with an entirely new team because he's going to a different team. It's far from the end of the world, but it is a noticeable flaw I saw in his game, and it's kind of one of the reasons why I can't have him anywhere above the top 30. He's also just a weird player where, he's inconsistent. He'll be great one week and terrible the next. He really does have that inconsistency. He can perform in the big games, and he can be a solid player, which is why I have him at number 30.